Um, well, let's go ahead and get started. I think our agenda today is pretty straightforward. We're not a huge group, so we can be pretty flexible. If it feels like what I'm saying sounds rehearsed, it's because it is. I've said it so many times. So what I would love for you to do is, as we're going, and go ahead and ask any questions you have at any time in the chat. And periodically, I'll pause and let Susan ask those questions so we can tailor this to what questions specifically you have. And at the end, we'll have a little more time to answer any other kind of questions in a more flexible format. So today, for those of you who have not learned a lot about Delphinium, I'm going to introduce it to you and then give you an overview of its features. And then, like I said, we'll answer any questions. My background, I have a master's in educational technology and a business degree. My PhD is in applied social psychology. I've been researching education and been in education for something around 25 years. I'm currently a professor at Utah Valley University where I teach organizational behavior. I think all of us recognize that education is changing. More and more of it is moving online. Even those of us who have face-to-face classes, there's coming to be a greater expectation that some of that content is available to both the parents and the students online, so that there's some transparency about what the kids need to be working on right now. A lot of the things we do in the face-to-face class to keep class interesting and personalize and connect to students really don't translate when you move into that online space very well. These are the kinds of things that Delphinium thinks about. Another major challenge is overall education is struggling. After the pandemic, we lost about 1.2 million students that just have kind of disappeared. And we're seeing a lot of learning loss and low performance in a variety of different topics. There are lots of ways to think about addressing this, but I think a key way is that we have to figure out how to help the students want to learn, how to want to engage in the class. And that seems so obvious to say out loud. If the students aren't putting in the effort to get in and work on the class, they're not going to learn. But we don't have a lot of tools to help students want to learn. And so that's the problem that Delphinium was designed to solve. Delphinium started in 2012 when I noticed that my own students seemed to be addicted to their smartphone games. This is like peak Candy Crush, Angry Birds, these kind of games. And I started thinking, I wonder if I can get them addicted to my homework. That thought began 12 years of research and development around tools to help engage students in the online spaces. So in the online portions of classes. So if you go over to Google Scholar and just search my name, you can find all the papers we've been publishing in this area. So you've seen this before, right? This is Canvas. We like to call this the gray scroll of death. It's a wall of text, a little bit of your soul dies inside. You make these beautiful courses, and this is the interface that the students come in to see it through. If you could see silence, that's what it would look like. If you'll give Delphinium 3 minutes, all that work that you put into your course will change into something more like this. A visually engaging interface that helps students clearly see where they have been, where they are, and where they're going. This is not a static HTML page. This is live student data that helps the student. So this is not something the teacher made. I want to be clear about that. When I say 3 minutes, I really mean 3 minutes. Turn Delphinium on and all of the work you've done in Canvas will be pulled over and you'll have this kind of experience for your students. Delphinium tries really hard to create nudges for the students to help bring them back to the class. So we're going to see things like gamification elements like avatars, prize boxes, leaderboards, and progress and other performance meters like this countdown timer, performance meters, assignments complete, to help pull the students back into the class. And the third thing we want to do, Canvas by itself feels awful lot like an online assignment submission portal. It feels alone. We want to help students feel connected to the other students, and we want them to feel very connected to the teacher. And we want to give the teacher tools that helps give them their Saturday nights back. We want to make tracking and reaching out to students really quick and easy. We've done a lot of research around Delphinium. This chart, I think, shows a good example of to answer the question, does it work? If you look across the bottom, you have the time, January, February, March. Vertically, we have the points possible. The red line is where we want the students to be, and the blue line is where they actually are. In this scenario, you can see that most of the students are performing well above expectations. This, if I swap my researcher hat to my teacher hat, and I look down below, what my eye immediately goes to is these 6 students that are falling below the red line. This is an example of one of the ways Delphinium helps teachers clearly see how the students are performing. This chart that you're looking at comes for free in those 3 minutes. When you turn Delphinium on, you automatically get this data to help you to see which students are starting to fall off. 72% of students report that Delphinium is more or much more motivating. In an open-ended question, we asked students, how is Delphinium course different than a traditional course? And the most common answer we got back was fun. Students report doing their work earlier and with better quality. One student said, I was sitting on the couch watching Netflix and the thought popped into my head, I could be doing homework right now. These are the kinds of feelings that we want students to have. Excuse me. Here's a study we did, a case study we did at the Davis Connect, where we had 72 classes in Delphinium with 6,000 students. The first term, we gathered the data without Delphinium, and then the same term in the following year, we put Delphinium in, and we were able to show a 31% decrease in the failure rate. These are purely online classes where the students have never seen the other students or the teacher. I'm unaware of any other intervention that can get those kind of results. Administrators and teachers say things like, Delphinium has been a game changer for our teachers and students. We're seeing better success with Delphinium's use. Delphinium can help students reach their achievements by encouraging personal responsibility. And the ease of Delphinium gives me much more opportunity to work one-on-one with my students. Let's take a second to pause right here. Again, if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat. Susan, is there anything in the chat we should talk about?
Not so far.
Great. Well, I think as we continue, you'll see things that might cause you to have a question. Go ahead and just throw it in the chat, and we'll pause again here in just a few minutes. So let's jump into the live demo. So here you're looking at a kind of a typical Canvas class. There are modules, and inside of modules are assignments. If you look at this thing, it just goes on forever and ever. Imagine you're a kid who jumps on your class for the first time, and this is what you get to see. It's mind-numbing, a little bit of your soul dies. Now imagine you're the parent, and you want to stay on top of your kid and help them. You go to them and you say, Johnny, how you doing? And they pull up this page and they say, I don't know, Dad. And you say, well, let me look at it. You look at it and you scroll through and I think, are forced to conclude that you also don't know. There's not a lot of information here to help you. Now, give me 3 minutes and the class will become this: a visually engaging interface that helps students clearly see where they are, where they're going, and where they need to be. So this is not an HTML page. This is live student data so that the student can see in real time. So if you look at this green says I've done everything in that module. Blue says I'm working on it. White says I haven't started yet. So at a glance, I have the whole story of the class. These color bars tell the student the quality of the work. So a green color bar means they've earned most of the points in that module. The yellow color bar means they've got some room to improve. And then the red says they need to give some attention there. So here I'm Dad, I say, Johnny, how are you doing in the class? And he shows me this page. Instantly, I can just look at it and think, well, units 1 through 8, good job. You've done all those. Looks like you struggled on 4 and 7, and you're working on number 9 right now. How can I help? That's a really quick conversation that we can have. If I mouse over these boxes, we can pull up. Again, this is all the same information. If we go back to here, Hopefully you can feel how quiet it visually got. Here's ED puzzle, what does matter? If we come back over here, ED puzzle, what does matter? If I click that, it's going to open a new tab. We're just back to the Canvas course that you created. All your content's under there. You haven't had to make any changes to your course. Just turn Delphinium on and it becomes this environment. Canvas is full of really great information, but it's strung out all over the place. If you're a student, you're going to spend your time between the modules page, the grades page, maybe the assignments page, maybe the analytics page. You're going to try to piece together the story of your progress through the course from all these different sources. In Delphinium, we're going to pull all that together into one place. So as I look at this page, I can very clearly see which assignments I have done, how many points were possible, how many points did I earn, which ones have I submitted or not submitted, what is due, what is late, what's been excused. All of the information that we have about these assignments are pulled together into one spot. In addition, we're going to provide some game elements and some dashboard elements that help nudge the student to show them how they're doing and give them a vision for how they can continue and improve through the class. So here's a performance meter. This is going to tell the student the points they've earned out of the points they have attempted. So they can in real time keep track of what the quality of their work has been. Here's a course countdown, so they know how much time is left in the class. A lot of our K-12 teachers move this countdown timer out here, so it's the first thing they see, because what they tell me is one of the most common questions they get is, how much time do I have before I can't turn in any work? So by putting that up front, that makes it so the students have that answer very quickly and helps create some urgency in the course. This meter is showing the volume of work, so the student can quickly see, okay, I'm about 63% through the content. I know that's in my rear view mirror, and I know what's in front of me still. Here we have 3 game elements. Again, this is not something the teacher had to create or set up or do anything. Just turn Delphinium on and they get these tools in their class right away. What we have discovered that is, if you have a leaderboard in a class, anybody below about 50% will feel demotivated. So what we try to do is narrow down the view when students look at the leaderboard to just the few people above them or below them. So we have multiple levels in the leaderboard. So there are 5 first places, 5 second places, 5 third places. And we just show the student that there are people near them that they have done better than, and people near them that if they worked a little harder, they could improve. They could do better than them. Prize boxes work the way you might the way a prize box at the bottom of a Cracker Jack box might work, back when what was at the bottom of a Cracker Jack box was cool and not a URL. So the more points a student earns, the more they unlock. So you can see this one here at the bottom is still locked for the student. I'm going to play one so you get a sense for what these look like. When a student earns enough points, they might be able to do this. If that made you smile at all, that's what we were going for, a little Pavlovian conditioning moment. We want to celebrate student success. We want the student thinking, that was funny. What do I have to do to unlock the next one? Avatars work in a similar way. So the more points you earn in the avatar, the more options you have available to you. There are millions of combinations of things that you can put together. Let's see if we can. I've just made something horrible. There we go. That's a little better looking. And so the more points students earn, the more they can adapt. Those avatars are shared back into the leaderboard to help students feel that there are other students in the class. What we have found is that not every kid loves all of these game elements. Some students will love the competition. That's not a very big group, about 6%, but they'll say things like, I love knowing that I crushed the other students. The rest of the students will feel excited to feel that they are with other students in the class, so that this is not just an online portal to submit homework. They'll feel that they're in a flow of progress. They'll feel their own progress as they can see the progress of everybody else. And that will help pull some students through the course. Some students think those prize boxes are very funny. They will even go back and do old work to earn more points so they can see what the next one is. Students will say, I just don't get it. Avatars, I will personally say that I don't get avatars. I don't spend, you can tell the things I make, they're not very pretty. But then I see some students will spend hours and hours making something beautiful. They're very visually oriented. They love sharing that with other students. The point I'm trying to make is we don't need every student to love every part of Delphinium, but we have designed Delphinium so that every student can find something to love to help pull them through the course. The last thing I'll show you in the student view before I take any more questions is if you've ever looked at the student view of grades in Canvas, it's kind of difficult to understand what's going on. Visually, it's not very clear. In Delphinium, we're going to pull all that same information together into one place and make it easy for students to see how they're doing on each assignments and all of their overall grades. Let's go ahead and pause there. What questions do you have before I jump over into the teacher interface?
Katrina asked a good question. She says, does the Delphinium page look the same in the Canvas student app? And she's asking specifically about the phone or tablet.
Yes, Trina, excellent question. In fact, we can simulate those different layouts. So if I open up developer tools, I can show you what it would look like on a tablet, a smaller tablet, a tiny phone. What you can see is then that Delphinium will just shift around and reconfigure itself so it looks good in all of those different environments. Does that answer your question?
And then Amy says, I have a class where the content comes from the curriculum provider through LTI. It's a bit tricky because some are graded assignments, but the assessment isn't a traditional Canvas quiz. Would Delphinium be able to see these assignments?
Yeah, great question. As long as you're using grade passback and those scores eventually end up in the Canvas gradebook, then Delphinium can see them. Good question.
Those are all the questions we have for now. Oh, wait, there's another one. Okay. It was just Amy responding saying they do, thanks.
Perfect. So everything you're seeing, I want to keep reemphasizing this point. This is 3 minutes for you. Turn it on and it becomes this. If you add a module later, you don't have to change Delphinium. It will just appear in Delphinium. If you delete a module, if you change the name of an assignment, alter a due date, move an assignment to a different module, you don't do anything in Delphinium. You just keep doing things that you know how to do in Canvas. There's no new thing to learn. Just turn Delphinium on. Let's look at some of the cool teacher tools. I think you're going to love this. The first teacher tool is what I've already shown you. So this view, this student view, is really clean and easy to see and understand what's going on with the student. You can see very quickly where the trouble spots are. So if you go up here to the top, we click on this periscope button, you can reload this page as any student. The benefit of that is if you have a question from a parent or a student, you can quickly reload the page and get this quick overview for that student. If we leave the student view, we can load this. Actually, I'm going to have to leave the view. So I'll leave student view and reload this page in the teacher view. You'll see that it looks very similar. The main difference is the leaderboard actually does show names. I should have said this earlier. A common question about the leaderboard is, what about privacy? So when the students look at the leaderboard, they see aliases. So I teach business classes. So in my class, you might be Honda and I'm Toyota. That way I can track the progress of my nemesis, but not know who the other students are for FERPA reasons. Another common question about the leaderboard that I get is, I don't feel comfortable having a competitive element in my class. That's okay. Everything you're looking at is flexible. You can just delete the leaderboard and put something else there or rearrange things. For example, if you want, this countdown to be on the home page, you can just move it there. And if people are interested, I'll show you how to do that at the end. The real power in the teacher mode comes from the control tower. This is the result of 12 years of me trying to make my life easier as a teacher, and then giving Delphinium to hundreds and hundreds of teachers and having them give me feedback for ways that I can make their life easier as well. This is not a grade book. This is like the control tower at an airport. It's the place where you can see everything, and then if you need to, you can reach out and do something about it immediately. So let me walk you through some use cases. So let's say, for example, I get an email from a parent about a student. I can come here and just start typing their name in. And very quickly, it'll show me some quick stats for that student. And then I can click on the Details tab to pull in everything from Canvas about that student. From here, I can see their grade. I can see how they did on every assignment. I can see how they did relative to the other students on that assignment. If, for example, they had made a comment or I had made a comment on that assignment, then Delphinium would add another column to this table and show you those comments. Let's say there's a problem with this density quiz. If I click on the density quiz name, it opens a new tab directly to the speed grader for that assignment for that student. So then I can change the grade or continue the conversation or whatever I need to. We're trying to remove as many clicks as possible so the teacher can get at the work they need to do quickly and efficiently. If we want to look at the whole course at once, we can look to the right, red, yellow, green. You can see who's doing well, who's on the bubble, and who needs your help. Even better, just show me the struggling kids. Even better, send an email to the struggling kids. Even better, let's throw the parents on that message. We can say first name, I'm worried about you. You only have points in the class. Let's talk. I just found and emailed every struggling student in about 40 seconds. Our goal here, again, is to give you your Saturday nights back. Teachers who are doing really well at this are spending hours trying to figure out who to reach out to and what message they need to. Here we can do that all at once. Even better, if you have messages that you use frequently, like welcome to the class is almost over, midterm coming soon, remember to return your permission slips. There's about a half a dozen to a dozen emails that we send out in every class every semester. If we're doing that manually, I like to call that communication hygiene. You just have to remember to do it and send out messages that are done well. In Delphinium, we can create those messages in a template. We can, I'll show you the more details on that in a minute, but we can set that as a teacher template or a course template. If it's a teacher template, that template will follow me into all of my other courses. So if I teach this class in my fifth period, and I have a different canvas for my sixth period, I can create the template here, and when I load up the sixth period, the template will follow me in there, and I can create a message from it. Messages, we're going to offer you a ton of flexibility. So here's a simple message. We could come in here and say, I'm going to send a separate message to every student. Let me show you some kind of interesting use cases. We might say something like, hey, student name, here are some class stats. And we have a block here that has all of these stats already built out. So we can say, I want to send them their current graded grade on just the graded assignments. I don't know that they need to see their quality or their class standing, but I do want to show them what's due in the next 7 days and what assignments they missed in the last 7 days. And let's throw an emoji in there just for kicks, because everything is communicated with emojis these days. So we'll preview this. Delphinium will generate what the student would see in that message. And so this is fake student data, so there aren't any assignments. But if there were assignments, the student would get that listing of what they're missing and what's coming up soon. Even better than that, you can schedule these messages. So if you've got some free time and you know you're going to want to send these messages out, you could write these in advance and tell Delphinium when you want the message to go out. Or even better, if it's a message you know you send every semester, you could create a relative date. So welcome emails, I send mine out on the second day of class. You could do it on the first class or whatever you like. You could do it even, you could put like a -2 year and send it out 2 days before class. Then Delphinium would calculate when that day is and send the message out then. When you copy this class to the next semester, all of your messages will go with it, and Delphinium will calculate the new send day off of these relative days. What we're trying to do is take a lot of the burden off of you for doing what you're already doing, remembering to send emails at the right time and writing them well. This is not AI. It's not replacing you, but we are going to let Delphinium start all of these conversations for you. Once Delphinium has started the conversation, when the student emails back, you step in your rightful role as the mentor and as the teacher in the class. Let me tell you another couple useful use cases with this scheduled messages. Often I'll get 5 emails on the same day with the same question. That tells me there's a hole in my class somewhere. If 5 students have emailed me, that means there are 9 more students with the same question who did not bother to email me. So what we can do in that situation is we can send the message from Delphinium to answer to the whole class, because we know a lot of people have the question. Then we can come edit this message and set it so that it gets sent 4 days in the past. That long pause is so you can kind of process what I'm saying there. If we sent the message 4 days ago, and now we copy all of these messages into next semester, Delphinium will send the message out right before the students have that question. As a teacher, I have 100 students. I used to respond to about 12 emails a day. Most of these emails can be answered with, "Did you read the syllabus?" These days, I have automated all of those messages so that the answers go out right before the people have the questions. So these days, I have about 6 messages a week. The students are getting still 8 messages a week from me. So they feel a lot of connection, a lot of attention from me. And these are messages that I have developed over the last 2 years. But on my end, I am only responding to the messages where people have real questions that I can help with. Either they have a content question, or I call these the suffering in silence students. These are the students who reach back and say, "Hey, you probably can't help me. I know I'm falling behind, but ... But my grandma's sick and we had to drive to California. But my parents are getting a divorce. But I have COVID. Or I'm just being lazy. I'm sorry. I'll get back on it, I promise." When we reach out early and get this kind of information, often we won't hear this kind of feedback until like the last 2 weeks of the term when the student's trying to save their grade. But if we can reach out periodically early to those students who need help, we can say things like, "Of course I can help you. Let's see if I can adjust a due date," or "Let me explain the assignment better." Or let me tell you where you can find a lot of points. Let's not let this be the moment you fall out of my class. One other scheduling option that is, I think, useful is you could create a report like this one that I showed you and just tell Delphinium to send it every Monday, just so that the students can get a weekly update of how they're doing in the class, and their parents can be thrown on that as well. A couple of other cool features. I wrote all of my messages 2 years ago and I let Delphinium send them out. I don't want to forget that they go out, so I include myself as a sender. Another thing you could do is you could add a counselor to a message. This will make more sense in a second why you'd want to do that. So you'd say, counsel at help me. And so this counselor will get a copy of the message as well. So when would that be useful? You don't have to send messages to everybody anymore. You could narrow this down and say, only send the message if this student has less than 50 points since the start of the class. Or maybe you would send a message that says something like, only send this message if the student has less than 1 page view in the last 7 days. So this is a message that then would help you to figure out who's having attendance trouble, who's not connecting with the class, at least the online portion of the class. If you're keeping attendance, you could make a rule based on an attendance assignment. You could say, if a specific assignment has not been turned in or has 0 points or something, then that's who should get this message. Okay. This is the part where I say, this is super powerful and super easy. The easiest version of this is, I want to send a message, new message, write your message, and hit send. Beyond that, we can do quite a bit of different tools. I said you could send a message to every student through Canvas, but we can give you more options. You can send one message to all the students. You could create a Canvas announcement from here. So you might want to do both of those at the same time, because you never know how the students are getting the information. So we might say, let's send a message through Canvas, and at the same time, we're going to add a Canvas announcement to this message so that they're happening at the same time. Other options, we could send a message to the to-do list. We're finding that a lot of students are not going into Canvas. They're just going to the to-do list on the main page. So what if you could send a message to the to-do list right there to say, hey, students, this week, don't forget to do these 5 things. We can add a banner to the top of Delphinium that they have to acknowledge that they have seen before they can continue. We can send the message directly to their email address. And the last thing I'll show you is a message that doesn't include students at all. Instead, you could do something like this. You could say, these students are struggling this week and need your help. And now we can add in a list students who block. So this will create a bulleted list that match any condition you create. So we're going to add kids to the list if they have not yet, let's just keep it simple. If they have earned less than 100 points in the class so far. So we can preview that. Actually, I'm gonna, it's doing a lot of work on the other end. The bane of a live demo. I'm going to leave this. It will eventually come up with a list. I think it's because this is fake student data. It's actually every student in the list that rule applies to. All right, so I think I'm going to pause there and take questions. I see a lot of questions in there.
There's a lot of discussion of celebrations of some of the features. I think I think one question that we had was from Katrina, and she was asking about the grade book view or the watchtower and if it was printable.
Oh, that's interesting. There's not like a cool print button. The best I could say is you can just hit Control P in the browser and print this screen. I'd be interested, maybe offline, Katrina, you can send me a question, and you can help me explain what you're going for, and I can think that through with you.
That's all the questions that we had, other than just comments and people saying that they had to leave but wanted the recording.
Perfect. I want to finish where we started. 3 minutes, and this features are available to you. I keep saying 3 minutes. I'm going to play you the video that you can give to teachers to show them how to get going. If you'll notice, the video is only 2 minutes and 23 seconds. So I'm being generous when I say 3 minutes. So take a second to look at what it takes to get teachers going.
In this demo, we're diving into enabling Delphinium in a new course. First, let's open Settings. Go to Navigation, find Delphinium, and enable it. We recommend placing it right below the Home button for easy access. Save, and now the Delphinium link sits in the sidebar. When you open Delphinium, the first thing you'll do is authorize it. Delphinium begins by analyzing your course. If it's the first time using Delphinium in this course, it suggests loading the default settings. Click Next to continue. Now, tell Delphinium how your course content is organized, either by modules or assignment groups. Click Next to proceed. Here, Delphinium asks if you'd like to make it the homepage for the course. I'm selecting Yes. You can always change the homepage later in the Delphinium settings or in Canvas. Click Next to continue. In the last step, specify the start and end of your course and the maximum points. If unsure about points, let Delphinium count for you. I'll click Count Only Published Points. When ready, click Done. That's it. Delphinium reloads the page with your content and introduces itself. Click OK to start the tour, and Delphinium will guide you through the interface. Use the Learn More links during the tour to access advanced tutorials.
All right, hopefully that seemed clear and easy to understand. Any other questions, Suze?
Yeah, so we had a couple. Amy was just checking to make sure that Delphinium also works on the Canvas parent app. We talked about the student app, but
Yeah, so what the parent will see is very similar to what you're looking at here. It'll have the blue bar up at the top. If they have multiple students in the class, they will see a drop-down box where my mouse is, so they can toggle between which student they're looking at. Hopefully that answers that question.
and then Katrina asks, what happens if you keep the homepage the same as it is currently? How will students see the Delphinium pieces?
Yeah, so making Delphinium the homepage is optional. If you like, I mean, if you're not using Delphinium as the homepage, then they would click this Delphinium link in the sidebar. One of the common reasons people think that they would like to keep their own homepage is they put a lot of useful information on that page. I want to show you what I see most schools doing in that situation. So everything I've been saying is 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes. If you have more than 3 minutes and would like to do other things, I will introduce you now to the gear. In the gear, we will enter like superpower mode. You can change everything here. I'm going to take you to the layout and show you just quickly the kinds of things you can do in the layout. So for example, often a teacher will say, I don't think leaderboards are appropriate. So click the X and the leaderboard is gone. Maybe you want to reorganize it and you want the avatar over there. And maybe you would like to add something a little more advanced like achievements. Now, very frequently, I'll see people make their own home tab. So I'm going to make a new tab. I'm going to call this, hey there, let's see, new tab, new home. I'll select an icon. Let's do a smiley face, save, and then let's move that over. So that's the new home page. From here, like I said, a lot of schools really like having the countdown timer up front. So we're going to move that in. And then here's where I might put in information that is commonly available on a home page. For example, this is just a text box. I'm going to throw in a picture of me, an introduction picture. I turned 50 the other day, and so my wife and I went and test drove a Cybertruck. So we'll throw that in as kind of a about me item. And then we'll put in some text there that says, hi there, first name. And let's make that big and colorful. And then a lot of times people will put in like links, important links to policies. So we could say this, oops, this is a link, link to, I don't know, I see people put in links to how to connect, how to make an appointment with me on my calendar. I see links to policies. I see links to like the school store. Anyway, all of those things that you would normally put on a homepage, you can just, oh, I should have saved that. I didn't save it. I'll just, so you can see. That then will drop in, and it's basically anything you want HTML wise. You can even, I've seen teachers like embed Canva slideshows there. There's a lot of flexibility at that point. So hopefully that addresses a question that nobody actually asked, but I think you might wonder. If as a school, you want to standardize on a different look than this standard, you can create a layout template and that will become the new 3-minute experience. So the school could make a layout that matches their own particular design desires. And then anytime a teacher does, this thing,
Content is organized.
At the end of that thing, they would see your school's template and not the template that I've been showing you. Hopefully that helps somebody. Any other questions, or what other questions?
No other questions, just some great info. Thank you. And some follow-up with
Perfect.
other questions. So we're good.
Well, I'm going to pause the recording and I will send this recording out. And I would love if you would share this with anybody in your team. Ultimately, our goal is to get this to as many students as we can. if you're already, I know some of the people on the call are already using Delphinium. Maybe you've seen a few things that are new here. I will be happy to meet with you and your team as well to answer more deep questions offline from this. And if you're not using Delphinium, we'd love to connect and see if we could work with you and your students.